The unwritten rules of Facebook.
It cut all of our ad costs by over 70%.
How do you want to be able to take in all of this data that's around us?
Some of his campaigns have done up to $20 million in sales.
I think this is going to be the future for the next 10 years. Live on the air, and welcome to Heather Havenwood's Hangout. Today, I am actually very excited to have a dear friend of mine, Belinda, on the line of the Hangouts. Now, why would I have, she's a Feng Shui artist, and why would I have a Feng Shui artist on a Hangout about business entrepreneurship? Well, let me explain to you that Belinda is an expert designer of prosperity of business spaces. She is a designer and redesigner of Feng Shui expertise, and she helps homeowners as well as business owners. And her real love, though, is really helping small business entrepreneurs to make more money with their business. She has over 17 years experience as a Feng Shui consultant, designer, and stager. And she spent 18 years in the medical device industry in sales and marketing. So, today we're going to have a lot of conversation about, do you believe that the energy of a space can directly impact the success of your business in your life? And if so, is your business successful today? If not, I know Belinda can help you. And I'm excited to have her on the Hangout today because I personally have had her come Feng Shui my entire house, my entire condo, including patio area, and more importantly, my office. And I'll tell you more about that as we get through. So welcome to the call, Belinda with designforenergy.com.
Thank you, Heather. I'm really pleased to be here today and talk about this wonderful art that I practice and I just love. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now, Belinda, do me a favor and turn down your volume of hearing me because it's getting some little bit of feedback. So I want to make sure people hear it, both of us.
Okay.
So you might not be able to hear me the whole time. Okay, so now why would I bring a designer on? Now, guys, listen. When Belinda came into my office space specifically, I work from home. Okay, so I have a kitchen downstairs. I have my bedroom next door. There's all kinds of things and distractions that can happen when you're an entrepreneur, a virtual entrepreneur, and you're focusing on your business. And the first thing she did, I remember this, she said, which direction are you facing based on your birthday? I'm going to let her explain it. And she changed my entire desk. And I remember the day she did it because when she was touching my desk, I was like freaking out. It's one of those things like, oh my God, she's touching my desk. But honestly, right now, if you could see the whole picture of my office, right here to my left is this beautiful window that I could actually look out and see. So, Linda, I would love for you to talk more about, first of all, what is Feng Shui generally, and then how do you help businesses?
Great. Well, Feng Shui is a 4,000-year-old art, and a lot of times people ask me, well, if it's so old, why would it even work today? And in reality, it's because over the 4,000 years, it's just been used for so many applications, from designing buildings to cities, to homes, to offices, and those principles that are so ancient actually work so well, and they fit into modern times. And it's really just about working with energy flow and what makes your environment feel great, because if your environment feels great, you're going to do better. And basically the two words mean wind and water, and it's really just, again, about energy flow. And my whole goal with business owners or homeowners is to help them increase that so they have more prosperity and harmony, and actually their life flows a lot better for them.
I love that. And I remember a story, actually, you shared with me, and you're welcome to finish the story. I just remember it kind of as you talked about a particular client you had that had a mirror when she walked into the bedroom. Like literally the first thing you saw in the bedroom was a cracked mirror. And there was a distinction of connection with her life in that cracked mirror. Can you finish that story?
Yes, this was actually a very wealthy client who'd been going to the doctor, holistic doctors, for her health, and she was very interested in all kinds of arts and Feng Shui, and her home was beautiful. But the first thing I noticed was this very beautiful antique mirror that was broken in several places and also distorted because it was an antique. So it had some of the just sort of the fading onto it. And it really is interesting because it cut off her head from her body. So as soon as you walked in, there was the disconnect between head and heart. And so part of her growth was to get in touch with that. And she began a meditation practice afterwards, as well as other things to help her health and her life.
I love that. And so you pointed that out to her, and that one change made a huge difference in her life.
Yes, and she was totally appalled by it because she said, I've had this in my room for 15 years and never noticed that. So it was really a shock to her, and she really understood it.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so why did you choose Feng Shui? That's a big shift from medical device industry to Feng Shui. So why did you decide to do that?
Yeah, that's a real good question because I, like many people, was working really hard in my career and wasn't getting the pay raises and promotions like a lot of people were, and I was doing all the right things. And I just thought something's got to be off here. Obviously, there's other reasons, like working for a corporation and being very few females in leadership, and there's other issues. But beyond that, there were still some things that I thought were off. And when I found out about it, that you could change your office around and affect your career in a positive way, I was very fascinated. And I found an Asian architect out of New York who did my home by phone. And all he did was my office, and I had huge results in my corporate career overnight.
Overnight. Tell me more. Can you expand that, what that means? Like shifting something. Some people will be like, shifting some furniture around. How does that make a change in my career?
Right. Well, the concept in Feng Shui, one of the basic principles is that everything is made up of energy, or the word qi, which is what energy is in Chinese. So that everything's made up of it. So if we affect it in any way, move it around, whatever, we'll have a different effect. So he basically didn't do my house, he only did my home office. And he asked me to rearrange my desk because I was not in what is called a commanding position. Commanding position is always when you can see the door, but you're not in line with it. It's much more comfortable. You have some kind of a solid back to you. That's some support in your career. And in sales, I pretty much was out there by myself. So he did that, and he suggested that, and he said also put some elements that create flow, like a water feature or something that creates movement in the space. Write some intentions of things that you would like to see change in your career, and then just put that out there. And literally within a couple of days, I got a call in my career to go to a different division. It wasn't a promotion, it was a lateral move, but I knew that it was movement. And Feng Shui is all about movement. So I took it, and it landed up totally transforming my career. I got more pay raises and promotions in a 2-year period than I had in the previous 10.
And is someone who is listening to this explaining about Feng Shui and how you can move certain elements in the office space or in their business, what would you say would be the top 3 things they can look at? Maybe in their current surroundings, maybe their cubicle or in their home office, or maybe they're a doctor, a chiropractor. What are some the first basic 3 elements they can be looking at?
Well, one thing I would like to say first is that for people who might wonder, how does this really work? I don't understand what you just said, meaning what I just said. Think about the fact that somebody gives you a promotion and they tell you, we really need you to finish this project in 2 months. And they put you in a room that has the color you hate the most. So you're going to produce, you're going to come out of that project having produced. But had they put you in a room which was with your favorite color, one that energizes you and makes you feel good, that project not only is going to come out quicker, but also a lot more creatively and a lot more according to what you were expecting, because our environment affects us. So with that, I always look at a home office and say, make sure that the office reflects what it is you're trying to achieve in your career. If it's success and prosperity, then make sure that the things that you have in your office are beautiful, elegant, and of high quality. You don't have to spend a lot of money to do this art. It's the things that you choose have to have high quality if you want to draw in more money or a higher quality client in that way. The other is to have inspiring things across from you so that when you're working every day, you see something that inspires you, that gives you energy to go forward and meet your goals. And the other one would be, the third I'd say, would be adding something that was an energizer, like a water feature or some good lighting or something that's really a real pretty color for your walls that makes you feel good in your space.
And you did that with my office. You know, I wish I could take a picture of my office right now, but I think that one of the biggest things I did wrong in my office, you pointed out, so there's a big window, is actually a big sliding glass door, and I put my desk towards it, you know,
Right.
and I have a big desk, so one shift of pointing to I'm actually looking at a corner, but I'm looking at my computer, but I can see the window, you know, and it's true. If you're facing the window with a big computer, you can't see out the window. You know what I mean? It's my inspiration because it's a beautiful window and you overlook some greenery and it adds a lot of light. But that one shift, and then you also pointed out about my direction. And I want you to explain what that means, if you don't mind. Like, I'm facing my better direction.
Some of the core principles of Feng Shui, people would just totally understand and say, oh gosh, that just makes sense. It's good design, good ergonomics, it just makes total sense, you know, the suggestions you're making. Some of the others have to do more with cosmology and astrology, which Feng Shui is very much includes in the art, and that's where we take in the total person. So we ask the people to give us their birth dates, and that gives us a clue into their own personal energy field, what their element might be, what's a good facing direction for them. So when I asked you for your birthday and I found out that your best facing direction was a certain place in your office, I wanted you to be positioned there because it adds more energy. It's just another layer that adds more energy. I've had clients that had beautiful Feng Shui. I went to their homes, actually one in particular where I thought, why am I even here? She was an interior designer. Her house was gorgeous. She was not getting promotions in her company that she wanted. And I noticed her desk placement was fine. She was looking towards she had a nice wall behind her. She was looking at the door. She wasn't in the flow of anything. But when I looked at her direction based on her birth date, it was considered in Feng Shui to be one that was very difficult and would consider for her to lose everything. So all we did was reposition her in her desk at her home, and she called me within about 3 or 4 days that she got a promotion and was traveling internationally. So it's not the only thing, but it adds energy, and so we do use it because it's trying to create the effect of working with the individual on all levels.
Yep, can you hear me? Yeah, I love that. That was a big shift for me in my office. And I remember when you came to my home, I let you do my whole home. I was very open to you changing pretty much everything. You know, whatever you want, bed, okay. But you know, when you're like, okay, we're gonna move your desk. I remember going like, no, you're not. That's the one thing you're not allowed to touch, you know. And I think I left the room. I'm pretty sure I left the room. But for me, it was one of those things. It's just, I don't know, because I spend so much time at my desk, more than my bed. You know, it's just one of those things where it's very personal. My desk is very personal. My chair is really personal. You know, so I think people, as an entrepreneur and a virtual entrepreneur, people understand that. But more importantly, I want you to talk about your business with working with small businesses. I know you have personally come into my boyfriend's office, who's a chiropractor, and completely revolutionized his office and added a lot of different elements. But I want to talk about your experience and what you do on a daily basis here in Austin, Texas, and then can you do it remote? But first, just what kind of small businesses do you work with, and what kind of results?
I love working with local businesses because I like to support the local community first. And then beyond that, I just love working with small businesses, entrepreneurs, because they are, you know, they need the help, and they're wanting to get going and be prosperous. The big corporations and other big companies that have a lot of money, they can invest a lot easier than the new companies starting up. So if I can get them on the road to prosperity sooner, that makes me feel good, and that's also what I love doing. That's part of my background when I was in sales and marketing, was helping people expand their businesses. One thing I want to touch on, though, is that you mentioned how you were a little hesitant in moving your desk. That is not unusual. In Feng Shui, everything is symbolic, so everything has energy. So when we're talking to clients and they're hesitant about repositioning a bedroom or a bed or a desk or painting a door a certain color, there's some resistance to the change that they say that they're wanting, even though it's very subconscious. And so I try to be gentle with people. I do give them the advice, and I do tell them why, the reasons for it. But I also understand that that's part of it. And sometimes people will just do some of the changes and not all that I recommend because of that. And they have better results. Some other people have better and quicker results because of that. So, it's where everybody is, and it's their level of movement and how much change they're going to allow in their life. But moving the desk around, I hear that more than not about, I can't do that, it's going to be too difficult, I don't have the room for that. It's things like that, and then I find out they're really a little bit hesitant about gaining and harnessing all the prosperity that they say they really want. Sometimes that can be the case.
Interesting. Would you say that the thing in our space is a direct correlation to prosperity, or correlation to, I guess, what we're wanting, so what we say we want, but then there's stuff in our space keeping that stuck?
Absolutely. When I was taught to be a practitioner, I was told that when I walk across the threshold of a business or a home, I'm kind of walking to that person's soul. Everything is placed in there, whether it's on purpose or not, for a reason. And so that's why I can walk into a single woman's bedroom and see that there's only one lamp. There's some dead flowers in there, or there's one woman had a picture of a lady over her bed crying, and she never thought about it. And all of that is a subconscious something going on that says, I'm really sad, I'm not comfortable with this, but I don't know how to change it, or I just haven't been ready to change. So then I come in and say, well, let's create a sense of a partnership, which is what you're desiring, and then let that unfold. And I always try to do it at their pace of what they're comfortable with, because for me, I'm ready to change everything for them, because they're ready. They've called me, but I also understand that people have their own level of that, and so I work with them. But I always point out what it means, because most of the time people aren't always aware of that.
Well, I think that was one of mine. I had Marilyn Monroe, actually, right? Marilyn Monroe over my bed. So that was interesting. Can you turn on your volume one more time?
Sure.
Sorry. I'm just getting a lot of feedback. And I don't know if it's recording. But I had Marilyn Monroe over my bed, and I'm thinking that was the reason that I was still single. And then now I have a huge, beautiful, two beautiful flowers over my bed, and it really symbolizes partnership, and I just love that. Okay, so what about businesses? What do you do with the small business? What all the different elements are you touching when you walk into a small doctor's office or a dentist or a business?
Well, and I don't want to leave out the entrepreneurs that work from home. One real quick point on that is that the reason I love working with them is because they don't have the advantage of a storefront and people coming by and the flow of traffic. So it's very essential that they have their office space at home optimum, because they do miss out on that. Now, for a small business, one of the things I'm going to always be focused on is, are they visible from the outside? Are people able to find you easily? Is your signage good enough? And is there a good flow to your front door? Because it doesn't matter what we do inside if the energy is blocked and not being able to get inside. And I can't tell you how many people do not spend time on the front area of their businesses or their doors.
That's true. That's very true. That's true. If you can't see the building, or if you can't see the signage, you're going to miss it.
So another thing I would do then is I walk through the space with the person and I look at things that might be outliers, things that might be problems. And mostly it's going to be things like clutter. Clutter is a big thing that a lot of people don't realize will block prosperity. Things that are blocking you just in walkways. If you're walking through a hallway and it's narrow, if you see there's chairs in the way, if there's things stacked up, all of this blocks energy flow. So I'm always going to advise them to open up the space as much as possible, let enough light in, and that will be a great start.
Interesting. So let's talk about clutter. I mean, clutter is a big one, I think, in offices, especially cubicles or maybe doctors' offices. What do you say about clutter? What does it represent, and what's your philosophy on that?
Well, clutter is energy. So the more of it, the more that it creates stagnation. And the last thing you want in a business is stagnation, because that blocks everything. That blocks your new clients coming in, your prosperity, the health of your business. So the last thing we want is that. So clutter is a very much blocks opportunities. So if a chiropractor or a doctor is seeing patients in his office and his desk is full of clutter, where it's hard to even see the doctor behind the desk or what have you, then he's blocking opportunities there. And money. So that's one thing. And then also the receptionist area, that needs to be very welcoming and inviting and not have a lot of papers and things there. Because again, that's where the energy's coming in. People are getting to experience what it feels like. And my basic concept with doctors' offices, like holistic centers, chiropractors, is that you want the patients to feel like they're healing the minute they walk in your door.
So
it's
true.
It's not something that you have to convince them of. They walk in and they go, I don't know if he's any good, but I like the way it feels in here, and I want to come here.
Yeah, they want to come back over and over again,
Yes.
especially with chiropractors and healers. That's interesting. In the reception area, that's a good point. The first person that they see, which is usually sometimes a small business, they're the receptionist, they're the assistant, they're the project manager, they're the business manager. What would you say is a good rule of thumb on how they can keep that place really clutter-free?
Well, we always try to, depending on the kind of desk, the type of desk or reception desk that they have has a lot to do with that. If it's a flat working desk, it's pretty hard to hide anything. If it's one that's a little bit higher that has cubicles behind it, then they have an option there for putting their paperwork and things. Those are always better desks. Otherwise, then have some kind of organizing shelving system behind them. So that way that they can keep their paperwork and things like that behind them, whether it's just a flat desk or if it's actually a shelving unit, so that there's things that are organized behind them. But the front desk really needs to be the open area. And so if people have their computers on the reception desk, we often advise that they put a lush green plant in front of it. So when you walk up, you see the plant first before the computer.
For the computer. Yeah, that's really a good point. I can see that. I can completely see that. So what about colors? That's the kind of the fun. I think feng shui in many ways is like a design when you're working with colors. Colors really create energy and they create feeling. I think lots of times in my experience with business owners is that they want to have everything gray or brown, but what would you say to that, to small business owners? Like, hey, I'm just trying to get things started. I have 2 or 3 employees. I really want to have things start to prosper, or I work from home. What are some really great colors to have around them?
Well, feng shui actually has a system. We work with what's called the 5 elements, like the 5 elements in nature. And they all have a color. Like fire has red, and earth is browns and yellows, and water is blues and blacks. So they have colors, and depending on what's needed is kind of how we base the color choices. So if I go into a boardroom and it's a bunch of lawyers and they're really wanting to inspire creativity, I'm not going to suggest that they use grays or browns, because they already have that with their furniture. What inspires creativity is golds, yellows, things that like the sun, that they brighten things up. So there's lots of shades in those colors that would work beautifully, and it would complement a boardroom and make it feel warm and inviting as well. Yeah. In a healthcare center, it's always going to be colors that invite and promote health. And those are also going to be the earthy tones, like the warm neutrals and the yellows and you know, some kind of golds or tans and things like that that are just warm. If we really want to, you know, energize a space, we add red. I actually went into an acupuncture office in Memphis one time. The entire place was painted red. They had a feng shui consultant go in there, and she said, for prosperity, to grow your business, red. Well, you know, it's too much. And who wants to walk into an acupuncture office and see red everywhere? It reminds you of blood.
Yeah.
It's not a calming color for that. So it's used in touches and to create prosperity in areas, but it's always within balance. And so we always use some of the warmer, softer colors in the holistic centers or doctor's offices because they make people feel a lot more safe and comfortable.
Do you have any good examples of some other businesses that you've done, types of businesses you've done here in the Austin area or other areas, either remote or not, that have had some big shifts?
Yes, you know, I've had businesses that were probably maybe 10 to 15 employees that were just starting out, and they expanded and they had to grow through a bigger space. It was a small realty company. I've actually had, you know, I work with a lot. I've definitely had the chiropractors expand their business very rapidly. I've actually worked with a huge company in Austin that had about, I'd say about 75 people in cubicles, and they were wanting to get more harmony in the workplace, and they found that they had lower turnover over that year and more prosperity by just making some changes like, you know, getting rid of clutter, adding more fresh plants, because a lot of corporate spaces just have, some don't even have windows, but many have windows and that's about it. There's not a lot of life in there.
Yeah.
So we try to add a lot of greenery to bring life in, and that actually does expand the space a little bit more too.
So when you do feng shui in an area, do you just do it once, or do you feel it's time for someone to come back, or you come back once a year, or it's just like a one and done kind of thing? What are, you know?
Yes, this is a misconception that people have, is that you have your house feng shuied one time and you're set for life. And reality is your energy is shifting all the time, and every time you move something around or you shift something, the energy in your space shifts. So if you reach another level of prosperity, then you want to go to the next level. So there's more things you need to do. So whether you use someone like myself or you do it yourself because you've read something, you still have to be on an ongoing basis of maintaining it and energizing your space. And I recommend that people move something around every 30 days in their space, just to create movement if they feel like they're stagnant or things have slowed down. I also recommend that people do some smudging, a little bit of sage, you know, where you go through and light that and kind of clears the energy of your space a bit, kind of, you know, allows you to have a new beginning. Yeah. But an actual update on your space is very essential because the energies shift every year and they come in and create havoc or harmony. And unless you really understand how to do that, or you're really trained in it, you'll kind of miss quite a few things. And so if at all possible, I like to work with my clients at least once a year at the new year, and quarterly. I do have a maintenance package where I can come in and tweak and see where they are and see where they need to go and make adjustments and enhancements for them if that's possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense, because I think, I mean, as a business owner myself and living in this particular condo for 4 years, and my business has grown over time, is that I'll begin to shift and things start to shift, and buying new things, or, you know, releasing things is always what I'm constantly moving things around, I think. But there's two questions I have for you, and I've heard different, I don't know, I've heard different theories on it, but I want to get your theory on it. If I have a broken something, a computer, or I don't know, it's like broken something, or broken blender, or broken something, do you suggest like people hold on to things like that and try to get them fixed, or you get rid of them? What do you think about things that are like not working in this space?
Well, Feng Shui has a very clear rule on that. Anything that's broken is considered dead energy. It's not functioning. And then everything in your space actually has meaning, has a life area. So let's just say the blender happens to be in what we would call your wealth sector. And you just have it sitting there. You haven't used it. You know it's broken. You know you'll get to it at some point. it is affecting that area of your life. So we recommend that unless you can get it fixed to optimum level, that you get rid of it and get new. And that even goes for like people who lose fish in their aquariums, or water fountains that go out. Replace them right away.
Interesting. That's what my microwave went out last week. It was the weirdest thing. It just literally one day it was working, and the next day it wasn't. And I think I let it sit there for about a week. And then I finally just got it out, and was like, I just got a new one, right? $70 or something. But it was just interesting how it shifted so fast, and I just kind of waited around for it, But I want to get your take on that. The other thing I want to get your take on business owners, especially entrepreneurs like myself who work from home, is you call it the wealth bowl. And I've had different theories about it, but I wanted people to hear what you teach and how it affects your clients and having a wealth bowl, what you call it. I think it's wealth bowl.
Yeah, actually I have two. They're kind of what I call money cures, and they're two ways of dealing with money in your home or your business really. And that is, you want money to continue to flow, and then you want the money that you're gathering to not be lost. So one of them is I ask people to put just like a really nice glass bowl or ceramic bowl on their counter, wherever, and over the 30-day period, when you have loose change of any sort, throw it in that bowl, and at the end of the 30 days, spend it, because that shows that money is moving in your space and it's flowing. You're not hoarding it, and so that there's a constant movement of energy of money in your life. The other is to create what I call a wealth bowl, kind of like a treasure chest. And that goes in your bedroom, and it's a place where nobody sees it but you, and you know where it is. And you can have it in a drawer or a closet or somewhere. And that's where you put valuables, and that can be some really nice jewelry, crystals, money, coins, stocks and bonds, checks. You can even write a check to the universe for whatever amount, put it in there. It's kind of a little fun thing to do. And so that actually holds the money. And that's a really powerful cure that's been passed down through a lot of feng shui masters. And I do them both, because one is to keep the money flowing, and the other is to have your treasure chest, if you will, symbolically, that you do have wealth.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Those are two great things that people can do right now in their business and their just anywhere. Okay, so we're wrapping this up. And if someone's listening and they're an entrepreneur or a solo entrepreneur and they work from home, how can they get started? How can maybe they can hire you? Maybe can you do phone consultations, or how do they really use this to really enhance their life? Maybe they're like, well, I don't really believe in the feng shui part, or maybe they really want more information about how they can accept this in their life. And before you expand on that, I just want to share with everyone out there, I have used Belinda personally in my business now 2 years in a row. I had my update, and then my boyfriend hired him his chiropractic office, and I also had my previous ex-boyfriend do his entire condo. And every single time I've seen that she's worked, every time I see the work before and after, it's like these magical things start to move in my life and their lives. And things necessarily you don't even think they're going to move. Friendships, business, prosperity, family situations shift around. Like things just start to kind of like shake up and move. And I like it. I love that because it creates movement in my life. And as a business owner, an entrepreneur, I want to keep that movement going. And if people might be scared of that movement, but it's a good thing to clear out the old from the year, create something new, let go of stuff that doesn't work, and go after what you want. And I'm constantly preaching that in my business. So with that said, I want to thank you for being here. But I mean, as a conclusion, what would you give advice to entrepreneurs and solo entrepreneurs on how they can really use this technology and this mastery that you have, and how can they get a hold of you?
Thank you, Heather. And that was great to point those things out, because it is all about shifts. And I wanted to say that really, people, there's so much misconception. I've spent probably the last 15 years of my career demystifying feng shui, and to make it see that it's really creating movement in your life through an environment that just supports what you're trying to do. It's no woo-woo art. I mean, it's not that you hang a wind chime and you win the lottery, although you could, but you'd have to play the lottery a lot. It creates movement, and that's really all it's about. And so when people call me and they say, well, I'm interested in it, but my husband thinks it's just a little bit strange, you know, if you let them know that it's really going to create a better functioning space, a more elegant space, and one that they will be more productive in, you know, who doesn't want that? Yeah. And so that's what I really want people to get. The rest all comes is just all kinds of great riches that they get as a result of that too. I mean, I see that, but that's really what I accomplish it in when I go see people. So they can reach me, and I always do a free 30-minute phone consult for anybody interested in my services and how I can help them, and what, you know, give them free tips just right there on the phone. I'm always willing to come meet you at your business and talk to you about my services and how I can help you. You're always welcome to have a phone consult too if you just rather do that. All I need is a floor plan and pictures to give you some advice. So there's lots of, I have packages anywhere from $80 to in the thousands if I'm doing an entire business space remake over and a do-over. So there's a big range.
Yeah, I do want to say that you can do things remote, because I know that you asked for my business floor, the floor plan and things like that. It's obviously ideally for you to be there. But you can do some things remote because of the birthday and the floor plan, and just get things kind of going in a certain feng shui, reading the space. So if you're listening to this and you're not in Austin, Texas, still reach out to Belinda. And, you know, I have to say I've met a lot of people that are in the feng shui business, and you have always seemed very grounded. You know, like there's this piece of you that's very grounded in reality of the truth, and then you add that energy piece that's sometimes kind of mystifying to business and entrepreneurs. We know we want it, we want the energy to flow, but we don't really understand it necessarily. We still want a place of prosperity, people feel comfortable, and things are happening, and there's productivity. So I love that about you. I think you do a great job. I think it's a lot because you're experienced in corporate America for 17 years, and then you crossed over, so I think that's really great. So thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Those were great questions, and I just loved it. I appreciate you so much.
You're welcome. And you can find Belinda at designforenergy.com. She also has a newsletter as well if you just want to understand it and understand what feng shui is. But no matter where you are in the world, if you're a single entrepreneur, solo, work from home, or just have an office at home, or you really just want to get to another level of feng shui, reach out to Belinda, have that conversation, and I promise you, you'll absolutely love it. Okay, thanks, Belinda. Any last words?
No, Heather, thank you so much. You have a great day.
You too.